Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe my channel. Enjoy the listening. They thought they won. Then humanity, UNLESHED, our true power. The scattering commander, Nora Chen, stood on the observation deck of the Endurance, the last evacuation vessel to leave Earth. Through the viewport, her home planet shrank to a pale blue dot. Its once vibrant ecosystems were now poisoned by centuries of exploitation and the final, devastating war. The atmospheric shield failure had accelerated what scientists had warned about for decades. Earth was dying, and humanity had no choice but to flee. "Final headcount, Dr. Abrahams," she said, her voice steady despite the grief threatening to overwhelm her. The ship's chief science officer consulted his tablet. "Just under 50,000 aboard the Endurance, combined with the other 17 evacuation ships. We've saved approximately 8 million humans." He paused, the unspoken reality hanging between them. Over 10 billion had been left behind. Nora closed her eyes briefly. "And the sanctuary program? Unclear communications went dark shortly before our departure. The underground habitats were designed to sustain no more than 500,000 people for perhaps a century, if they survived the initial chaos." Dr. Abrahams left the sentence unfinished. The Endurance shuddered as it engaged its experimental jump drive, designed to take them beyond the reach of the Solari system. Their destination, the distant Arcturus sector, where humanity hoped to establish colonies far from the prying eyes of the galactic community that had refused to intervene during Earth's final days. "They think we're finished," Nora said, staring into the void. "Every advanced species in the Galactic Concord voted to deny our petition for emergency resettlement." Admiral Voss had said, "The Ilari representative actually laughed when our ambassadors begged for assistance. A species that poisons its own cradle deserves extinction." Dr. Abrahams quoted bitterly, the Concordat's official response. "Then they'll have their wish," Nora said, her expression hardening. "As far as the galaxy is concerned, humanity is extinct, and perhaps that's our greatest advantage." 6 months later, the Endurance arrived at its designated coordinates in the Arcturus sector, only to discover 3 other human vessels already establishing a rudimentary outpost on an icy moon orbiting a gas giant. The reunion was bittersweet. Many ships had been lost during the journey, their fate unknown. Admiral Voss, commander of the scattered human fleet, conveyed an emergency council aboard his ship, the Defiance. Representatives from each surviving vessel gathered in a cramped conference room. "We can't stay together," Voss announced, his weathered face grim. "Our long-range scanners have detected Solari patrol ships in the sector. If they find us clustered together, they'll finish what Earth's destruction began." "You're suggesting we separate?" Captain Cedo of the Horizon asked incredulously. "We barely survived the journey here. Our resources are critical, our people traumatized." "I'm suggesting we implement Protocol Diaspora," Voss replied. The room fell silent. Protocol Diaspora had been developed as an absolute last resort, the deliberate scattering of humanity across hundreds of star systems with minimal communication between settlements to prevent detection. "Nora," someone prompted. "If we split up, we'll lose our greatest strength, our unity," Nora spoke up. "No," Voss countered. "If we split up, we gain something more valuable, diversity of development. Different human settlements will face different challenges, develop different solutions, evolve in ways we never could as a single entity." The council debated for 3 days before reaching consensus. Humanity would scatter across the stars, maintaining strict communication protocols and meeting only once per decade at randomized coordinates to share advances and maintain genetic diversity. Each ship would seek out a habitable world or establish space habitats in resource-rich systems. Over the following decades, humanity adapted in ways no one could have predicted. On Frost, the ice moon where Nora's people settled, they developed specialized thermal technologies and bioengineering that allowed them to thrive in the extreme cold. The colonists of the Horizon, who established an orbiting habitat around a neutron star, pioneered radiation-resistant materials and quantum computing beyond anything developed on Earth. The settlers of Nutra, led by Admiral Voss, focused on stealth technologies and advanced propulsion systems, always staying one step ahead of Solari patrols. And deep in an unexplored nebula, the descendants of the Liberty developed unprecedented genetic modifications that enhanced human capabilities. 50 years after the Exodus, the representatives of the scattered human settlements met at the predetermined coordinates. The changes were already evident. Diversity in height, skin pigmentation, even subtle anatomical differences reflecting adaptation to various environments. But more striking were the technological advances each group brought. "Aquilorari believe we are extinct," Voss told the assembly. Now an old man supported by exoskeletal enhancements, his official records classified humans as a failed species, designation E775, and yet here we are, not merely surviving but evolving. The gathering was interrupted by an emergency transmission from the outer sensor network. A Solari warship had been detected, and they were scanning the area. The humans, scattered immediately, returned to their hidden settlements. But the close call confirmed what many had suspected. The Exilari were not merely content with humanity's exile. They were actively hunting down any remaining human outposts. In the following decades, several human settlements were discovered and destroyed by Ilari forces. The official reason given to the Galactic Concordat was quarantine enforcement of a biohazardous species, but the survivors knew the truth. The Exilari, the most technologically advanced species in the galaxy, feared human potential. On the 100th anniversary of Earth's evacuation, the representatives of humanity met again, this time in a hidden system protected by a temporal distortion field developed by the Horizon Colony. Admiral Voss had long since passed away, but his granddaughter, Admiral Lily Voss, now led the remains of the human military. "We cannot remain scattered forever," she told the assembly. "The Exilari hunt us with increasing efficiency. 4 more settlements have gone dark since our last gathering." Nora Chen, now enhanced with life extension technologies developed on Frost, stood to address the representatives. "We've spent a century hiding, adapting, evolving. Perhaps it's time we stopped running." "You're suggesting open conflict with the most powerful species in the galaxy?" asked Ravi Sharma, leader of the Liberty settlement. "Not open conflict," Nora clarified. "Something more elegant. The Exilari believe we are primitive, desperate refugees. They don't know what we've become in isolation. They don't know about the quantum tunnel technology developed by Horizon or the temporal phase shifting pioneered by New Terra. They don't know about Liberty's genetic enhancements or Frost's nanotechnology." She activated a holographic display showing Earth, still toxic but slowly healing, and added, "And they certainly don't know that we've maintained surveillance of our home world. The Sanctuary program succeeded. There are humans still living deep beneath Earth's surface, adapted to subterranean existence and developing their own unique technologies." The assembly murmured in shock. "Contact with Earth had been lost during the Exodus. How do you know this?" Elise demanded. "Because they contacted us," Nora replied. 3 months ago, using quantum entanglement communications we left behind. They call themselves the Earthborn, and they number in the millions. They've spent a century directly under the noses of the Solari occupation forces." She deactivated the hologram. "The time for hiding is over. The time for reclamation is beginning." As the human representatives debated Nora's revelation, a Solari scout ship monitored the edge of the system. Its sensors, confused by the temporal distortion field, led the commander, unable to get clear readings, to make the decision to investigate further. It would be the last transmission the ship ever sent. The human resistance had begun, the resurgence. 200 years after humanity's exodus from Earth, the Galactic Concordat held its millennial assembly on the Solari home world. Representatives from 18 space-faring species gathered to discuss trade agreements, territorial disputes, and the ongoing cataloging of emergent intelligences in the galaxy's spiral arms. Grand Arbiter Zextral of the Dexilary opened the proceedings with the traditional address for 20,000 cycles. "The Concordat has maintained order among the stars. We have guided younger species, preserved the cosmic balance, and ensured that the mistakes of the past are not repeated." The holographic displays around the chamber showed the careful management of developing worlds, the quarantine of dangerous technologies, and the containment of aggressive species. One display lingered briefly on Earth, still classified as a restricted zone due to environmental contamination. "Today, we celebrate another millennium of peace under Auxiliar, continued our stewardship. The chamber plunged into darkness. When the lights returned seconds later, a human woman stood at the center of the assembly. Impossible! No unauthorized being could penetrate the Concordat security protocols. "My name is Admiral Elise Voss of the United Human Worlds," she announced, her voice amplified throughout the chamber. "And your millennium of peace is built on genocide." Guards moved to apprehend her, but their weapons deactivated simultaneously. Outside the assembly hall, the Solari defense grid went offline, orbital platforms fell silent, and communication networks failed. "We are not here to threaten," Voss continued calmly. "We are here to correct the historical record. Humanity was not a failed species that destroyed itself. We were a species denied aid and driven from our home by the Concordat's indifference and the Ilari's active hostility." Zextral recovered from his shock. "This is a violation of Concordat law. Humans are a quarantine species. Your presence endangers. Your laws do not apply to us." Voss interrupted. "They never did. For 2 centuries, we have developed in isolation, forced to innovate in ways you never imagined. We have surpassed the very technologies you sought to deny us." She gestured, and holographic displays activated around the chamber showing hundreds of human settlements across the galaxy. Advanced ships with designs unfamiliar to the Concordat species and Earth itself, where massive structures now rose from the healing landscapes. "While you believed us scattered and broken, we unified. While you hunted our refugee ships, we established colonies in dimensional pockets your sensors cannot detect. While you occupied our home world, we thrived beneath your feet." The displays showed humans emerging from massive underground complexes on Earth, greeting the descendants of the Exodus who had returned in ships capable of bypassing all auxiliary defenses. "Humanity never died. We evolved." The reaction among the Concordat species ranged from fear to outrage to fascination. The Andari, long-time rivals of the Ilari, seemed particularly intrigued by this development. Diplomat Marcus Chen stepped forward, taking his place beside Admiral Voss. "We come to you now not as supplicants, but as equals. Humanity reclaims its place among the stars and its home world. This is non-negotiable. You threaten war?" Zextral demanded. "No," Chen replied. "We offer peace. The conquered have operated under Solari dominance for millennia. We propose a restructuring, a true council of equals where no species dictates to others." He activated another display showing the advanced technologies humanity had developed. Clean energy systems beyond anything the Concordat possessed, medical techniques that could cure diseases thought incurable, and propulsion systems that made even the fastest Solari ships seem primitive. "We could have returned with weapons," Chen said. "Instead, we offer cooperation. The choice is yours." The Andari representative stood. "The Andir Union supports the human proposal. For too long, the Exilari have claimed to guide the galaxy while serving their own interests." Other representatives began to voice support. The balance of power was shifting. Before Zextral's eyes, in orbit above Earth, the United Human Fleet maintained its position. Ships from the scattered colonies, each with unique designs reflecting their different development paths, stood alongside vessels crewed by the Earthborn who had spent centuries adapting to life beneath the planet's surface. Captain Sophia Lau of the Frost contingent monitored communications from the conquered assembly. "They're debating whether to recognize us or attack," she reported to Admiral Jonas Rise, commander of the Earth Defense Forces. "Let them debate," Rise replied. "Our position is secure." Secure was an understatement. In the centuries since the Exodus, humanity had developed technologies that operated on principles the Solari had never explored. The Liberty colonists had enhanced human cognition through targeted genetic modification, allowing for an intuitive understanding of quantum mechanics. The Horizon settlement had mastered the manipulation of subspace, creating weapons that could bypass conventional shields, and the Earthborn had perfected nanotechnology that could restructure matter at the atomic level. Most critically, humans had learned to cooperate across their differences. The diversity that Admiral Voss had foreseen had indeed become humanity's greatest strength. 3 days after Admiral Voss's appearance at the Concordat Assembly, the Galactic Council reformed. Without Solari dominance, The United Human Worlds were officially recognized as a sovereign power. Earth's quarantine was lifted, and human representatives were appointed to all major council committees. The reclamation of Earth accelerated. While parts of the planet remained uninhabitable, vast regions had recovered during humanity's absence. The Earthborn emerged fully from their underground cities, their pale skin and enlarged eyes evidence of their subterranean adaptation, and greeted their cousins from the stars with cautious optimism. "We kept the faith," Elder Tomas of the Earthborn told Elise Voss during the ceremonial reunification. "For generations, we told our children of the ships that escaped, that one day humanity would return united and strengthened." "Indeed," Voss replied, "every colony, no matter how far-flung, maintained Earth's cultural archives, its art, its music, its literature. The integration wasn't without challenges. 2 centuries of separate development had created distinctive human cultures and even subtle biological differences, but the shared heritage of Earth provided common ground." 1 year after humanity's return to the galactic stage, Marcus Chen addressed the reformed Galactic Council. "Humanity's journey has taught us that diversity is not weakness but strength, adaptation is not surrender but evolution, and cooperation is not submission but a multiplication of potential." The council chambers, now located on neutral territory rather than the Alari home world, had been redesigned to accommodate representatives from all recognized species equally. Even the Alari, diminished in influence but still respected for their ancient wisdom, participated fully in the new order. "We do not seek dominance," Chen continued. "The Alari's mistake was believing that guidance must come from control. Humanity offers a different model, collaborative advancement, where each species contributes its unique perspective and abilities." The human delegation presented their most ambitious proposal yet: the Ascension Initiative, a multi-species research program combining the unique cognitive approaches of each participating civilization to solve problems that had stymied individual species for millennia. As the council deliberated, Elise Voss stood on a balcony overlooking the new capital of United Earth. The city blended architectural styles from all human settlements, with towering spires reflecting horizon aesthetics, alongside the practical efficiency of frost designs and the organic curves favored by the Liberty colonists. "We've come further than Admiral Voss could have imagined," said Nora Chen, now the eldest living human who remembered Earth before the Exodus. Her life had been extended through technologies developed across the scattered colonies. "I knew our potential," Elise replied. "I see that our greatest strength wasn't our technology or our resilience, but our diversity, our ability to follow different paths and then bring our discoveries together." Below them, humans from 100 worlds mingled with visitors from across the galaxy. Earth was becoming what it had never been before, not just humanity's home, but a true cosmic crossroads. "They thought humanity was gone," Nora said softly, echoing the words that had sustained the scattered colonies through their darkest moments. "But we came back stronger than ever. The stars above shone brightly on a humanity united, evolved, and finally taking its place in the galactic community, not as conquerors or refugees, but as innovators, mediators, and explorers." The species that had once poisoned its cradle had learned to nurture instead, and in doing so had transformed not just themselves, but the very nature of galactic civilization.